On the run, thousands of runners from around the world hit the streets of the 305 for the Miami Marathon.
Buzzer Bam, the Miami Heat with an exciting finish on the road.
And on the fast lane, an exciting event that lets racing fans drive their own cars on the track. All of this and more on the sideline. Hello, South Florida, and welcome to the Sideline, the place where you get all the highlights for your South Florida teams. I'm Nicolette Esper.
And I'm Anthony Cruz, and the Sideline starts now. Thousands of runners hit the streets of Magic City this weekend for the annual Miami Marathon.
Yes, and that stage was set with a whole lot of determination for another unforgettable race, as Sideline reporter Gianna Agostino has the highlights of the event.
We are here at the annual Miami Marathon and Half Marathon, where runners are up bright and early to take on this challenge. Thousands of athletes are gathered to race through Miami's most notorious neighborhoods for the 23rd consecutive year.
Yeah, so this event is something that's been planned for 20 some odd years. It's the 23rd year, so it's been way back when we kind of started building the foundation to this event. Now it's grown quite a bit in terms of spectators, racers, and we spend all year long specifically on this edition and already getting ready for the following one. There's 500 cops, there's permits, there's marketing, there's sponsors. All these things basically require a full team to pay attention to.
The Miami Marathon is not just for runners, but welcomes all athletes.
So instead of grabbing onto the push rim, you grab onto one of these. And then you use like just friction. The pad on the glove hits on the push rim here, and you just try make as much contact as you can. And that's how I do. My old teammate gave me a call. I was like, hey, there's a Miami Marathon, let's do it. I'm like, okay. And I found out that he was only doing a half marathon. I'm like, dude, because they ain't half, but they're like, it's good time and so with that. So let's go.
What's clear to see is that runners are never alone in reaching the finish line, as family and friends line the streets, cheering them on with handmade signs and words of encouragement. From high fives along the way to emotional embraces at the finish line, their support inspires every step of the journey. As racers meet the finish line, the sense of achievement is clear. It's not just about the finish, but about the effort and heart each runner put into the race. For Caplin News, I'm Gianna Agostino.
Bam Adebayo had one of his best games this season on Saturday against a Wemby-less San Antonio Spurs, finishing just one assist shy of a 30-point triple-double. And here's a shot of the night. Bam would cash in an off-the-dribble jumper from the left elbow as time wind down to close out the De'Aaron Fox Bowl. The three-time All-Star and man most consistently robbed of a Defensive Player of the Year is having a down season, averaging the least amount of points he has since 2020. But Coach Spo said after the game that he's given the team some much-needed consistency amid this turmoil-filled season.
Bam, has been pure and steady this entire season. There's been a lot of things, but he's been, the rock of stability for us.
Nikki, hopefully this is the get-right game that Bam needs, as the Heat need him now more than ever to avoid the play-in in a tight Eastern Conference.
Switching over to on the ice, we saw Carter Verhaeghe, who was the star of the show in Sunrise on Sunday, as he lit up the scoreboard with his fourth career hat trick. Verhaeghe added an assist, totaling 4 points on the night, and surprisingly 31 was the number of the night, with Sam Reinhart, who was scoring his 31st goal, and Spencer Knight, who turned away 31 shots. The Panthers snapped the New York Islanders' 7-game winning streak, and they powered through a 6-3 victory over the Islanders. Florida is now looking to keep rolling as they head to Washington on Tuesday.
A hat trick for Swaggy. We love to see those. And a thriller in the bank this weekend as the women's basketball team went down to the wire with Kennesaw State. Down 4 starters, the team looked to claw their way into their second straight home win, but a late 6-0 run would put them down by 1 with under 10 seconds left. And in need of a late game hero, Lucia Fleta Robles passed it to Judette Valero Rodriguez, who swerved, bent that corner for the win. Coach Burks, tell us how you feel.
it's easy to come into a weekend like this with, you know, a lot of offense and defense sitting on the bench right now and come in with a woe is me or come in with a I'm just going to do me mentality. And I think our kids just have done such a tremendous job just all year of just do what is asked and do it to the best of my ability. And so I want to say that I coached us to a win, but at the end of the day, those kids, they played us to a win. So I couldn't be more proud.
The 4-seeded Panthers need this momentum to translate into their road play this week, as they have a 1-6 record outside of the bank.
After coming off of 2 ties, Inter Miami got a much-needed win in a friendly against San Miguelito. Messi was held scoreless in 77 minutes, but that was no problem as they took care of business in Panama for a final score of Inter Miami 3, San Miguelito 1. Inter Miami will now stay in Central America as they conclude their preseason tour against Olympia in Honduras.
And both Super Bowl teams have touched down in New Orleans and are prepping for the big game this Sunday. The Chiefs looking for the historic three-peat, Nikki, while the Eagles are looking for revenge. Who you got?
I think this is going to be a tough matchup, but honestly, we're looking to see history be made. Give me the Chiefs.
I'm going to agree with you. You know, like, as we see every season, Patrick Mahomes doesn't look like the best quarterback in the regular season, but he knows when to get it done, and with the best defense in the league behind him, I'm also taking the Chiefs.
100%.
And moving to motorsports across America that have begun to return this competition this season, and South Florida is no different. Caplin's Dylan Blazé has the story to the season opener, Fastlane Friday.
Hello everybody and welcome to Homestead Miami Speedway. Typically here you'll find the NASCAR Cup Series, but tonight you will find Fastlane Fridays. Fastlane Friday is an event that has been going on at Homestead Speedway for years, where people can take their street legal cars and drag race them in the 8th Mile pit lane.
It's a grassroots feel. I mean, you come in here, you run what you got, and you put yourself up against normal drivers, and you just do the best you can. So it's a really stellar event. You got some fast cars, you got some normal cars, and you got some upsets. So it's pretty cool to see. It's adrenaline, it's speed, it's passion. It's terrific. Can't beat it.
The typical announcer for Fastlane Fridays is NHRA broadcast veteran Joe Costello. I was able to ask him what it's like to go between the top and beginner levels of drag racing.
These are regular people coming off the street, driving their cars that they bought at the dealership or they modified. It's really exciting. All of these things, they're new to people. When I'm at the NHRA, I'm dealing with professional racers. What is reaction time? What is a 60-foot time? How to get the best possible launch. If they listen to me, I can help them. They don't always listen.
A change in leadership often brings about a change in practices. I was able to ask the new president of Homestead Speedway what changes, if any, he had in store for Fastlane Fridays.
It belongs to the people who come and do the drag racing. And one of the challenges that we have, but it's also the opportunity, is that we want to make it bigger, we want to make it better, but we don't want to mess it up. It belongs to the fans. And we do want to make it bigger and better, but we also want to honor the fans that have made it what it is.
That's all the time we have here for Fastlane Fridays. If you want to know when they'll be back, go to FastlaneFriday.com to find out. For Caplin News, I am Dylan Bazay.
Time to switch over to one of our favorite segments, which I'm happy to be back on the desk. It's our W and L's of the week. Anthony, start us off.
Let's get started. Nikki, I've had to sleep on this dub, but the absolute shocker that the WWE gave us during Saturday's Men's Royal Rumble with Jey Uso's win has to take it from me. Forget that John Cena looked to be the odds-on favorite due to it being his farewell tour, but there were like 10 other guys I would have put over him, and that's just a testament to the company's star power right now. I can't wait for Jey to most probably take on Gunther for the heavyweight title again, but what has me really excited is that we still don't have a clear WrestleMania plan for Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre. I can just spend all day naming these guys who still do not have a clear path to Vegas, and I can't wait to see the road to WrestleMania that we go on this year.
Very true. My biggest win of the week has got to be the USA Olympic gymnast Jordan Childs in her stunning floor routine, which honestly, she made a perfect 10 for her 10th time in her college career at UCLA. This is her stepping back on the mat after 6 months post the stripping of her bronze medal in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Honestly, in my opinion, it's awesome to see athletes still compete at the college level after participating in the highest ranked competition such as the Olympics, as well as being able to bounce back after what happened in Paris. Having a team to support and rely on has got to mean something.
Yes, and moving on to my biggest L, possibly the biggest and most idiotic trade in NBA history, all at the same time. As Luka Doncic is a Los Angeles Laker right now, let me remind you, the same man who took his team to the NBA Finals while being 24 years old and averaging 34 points and 10 assists in the regular season. And what was the haul, Nikki, that led to this NBA shattering trade? Anthony Davis, and wait for it, one single first-round pick. Now, I love AD, and he's arguably the best defender in the NBA. But honestly, that trade package, when you're talking about Luka Doncic, is the equivalent of a pack of saltine crackers and a half-eaten McChicken. And honestly, yeah, my biggest L of the week, my biggest L of the century in NBA history.
All right, well, I'm going to bounce off of you after Anthony, after talking about the trades in the NBA, continuing to talk about this nonsense of trade possibilities with Jimmy Butler. Posts from ESPN and Bleacher Report on X both say that sources have confirmed that Butler has been in communications with the Warriors and he's unwilling to sign an extension. Honestly, these trade conversations around Jimmy are just getting old at this point. You know, you have a guy who averaged 17 points this season before being indefinitely suspended by his team simply for being a poor sport. In my opinion, we haven't seen anything that hasn't been seen before by him, and I'm all about knowing your worth, but having the behavior might be something other trade possibilities are keeping in mind. But I am curious to see what Pat Riley will be bringing in, and to see if he's going to give in.
Well, to be honest, Pat Riley hasn't been the adult in the room either during these trade talks. But to listen more into the Jimmy Butler drama, we have our studio analyst Warren Oyoinkin coming after the break. Stick around for the sideline.
Radcliffe Art and Design Incubator is the velocity accompanying the fellow's rudder, as in a boat. Unless there is movement or action, the planned direction is of little consequence. We encourage the creative ideas into action, and from the experience of doing, we critically assess the feedback, adjust, and set out to rediscover the potentialities of an entrepreneurial mindset.
Stem is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
And continuing with the breaking news that Jimmy Butler told the Warriors he wouldn't re-sign with them if they were to trade with him, we bring in studio analyst Warren Okonkwo to break down ongoing trade talks and if there will even be one by the February 6th deadline. Warren, let's start off simple. Jimmy Butler is 35. He's already had his fair share of injuries, and his next team will have to pay him, and he's looking for a max contract. So my question to you is he even in the position right now to choose the team that he wants to go to, which he clearly wants to go to Phoenix?
Well, it is pretty tricky. At first, Jimmy Butler said that he would want to go to any team. Now it's tough because he's ruled out 2 teams in Sacramento and Memphis, and now Golden State, he's not trying to re-sign an extension with them. So I'm just going to say no, he's not.
You don't think he's going to be traded. So in that case, he would have to opt into his player option, so then they could trade him in the summer. Do you think that's the realistic place where we're heading?
As of right now, that's what it's looking like, but anything can happen in the NBA.
And honestly, like I want to get your input on this, because as we know, Bradley Beal would be the cleanest trade right now, because it's the only way that they could match up his contract directly. But teams like Memphis, right? Like, I would have loved him to go to Memphis. If I'm Jimmy Butler, that's where I want to go, because not only are they the 3rd seed right now in the Western Conference, but they're all young. Jaren Jackson, John Morant, all of these guys, Zach Edey, Jalen Wells, they have rookies in the starting lineup, and they're the 3rd seed. That would be my preferred destination over an aging Phoenix Suns team. I want to see what do you think on that?
You might call me crazy, but I do see him on the Dallas Mavericks.
Really?
Even though they just made that crazy trade with Luka and AD, they're going to need a defensive wing that can bring the team some toughness. So it'll be beneficial for the Dallas Mavericks.
And I mean, if you're going for, like they said, they're going for experience in defense with what Nico Gerritsen, the Dallas Mavericks GM, said, so it may fit. Nikki, what's your input on the situation?
Honestly, the behavior from both sides of the team, from Pat Riley's behavior, like I was mentioning, you mentioned when I was talking about my biggest L of the week, and Jimmy Butler's behavior for the Heat, honestly, I'm so over this news, and let's just make a decision, guys. The deadline's approaching. But it's time to go to game picks now. We have Mia Florian to give her insight on what's to come in the studio.
We've got a couple of games lined up this week, starting with the Heat, who will be facing the Bulls tomorrow night in Chicago. Even with the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Butler, the Heat are still finding their rhythm, especially with our newest All-Star, Tyler Hero. The Heat are coming off a win in their last game, while the Bulls are coming off a loss. So with Hero leading the charge and Miami's momentum so far, I'm going with the Heat for this one. Next up, the Florida Panthers will be facing the Washington Capitals in an away game tomorrow as well. The Panthers are rolling, coming off 3 straight wins with their offense clicking and solid performances from key players like Kachuk, who's been leading the charge in both goals and assists. On the other hand, the Capitals have struggled recently, losing their last 2 games, and their offense hasn't been as consistent. So with the Panthers' recent form and the Capitals' recent struggles, I'm going to have to go with the Panthers for this one. And lastly, coming up this Sunday, the Eagles and the Chiefs will face up for Super Bowl 59 in a matchup that feels so familiar. The Chiefs have been on a hot streak, winning the last 2 Super Bowls, including one against the Eagles in 2023. But this year, the Eagles are looking stronger than ever with a dynamic offense led by Jalen Hurts and a new addition, Saquon Barkley. The Chiefs, though, are always dangerous with Patrick Mahomes under center. So this is almost an unpredictable yet very predictable game. But if I had to pick, I'm taking the Chiefs. And that's all for this week. Back to you guys at the studio.
And just a reminder that if you want to keep up with updates, fun segments, and more from our crew, you can follow our Instagram for all things Sideline. Follow us at sideline.caplin. That's it for today. I'm Anthony Cruz.
And I'm Nicolette Esper. Thank you for watching. As always, we'll see you next week on The Sideline.